Hello children, today I've come to ancient Egypt. Let's find out about the past.
Behind me here is the River Nile. It is about 6,670 kilometres long. That makes it the longest river in Africa, and indeed it is the longest river in the world. In Egypt, the River Nile created a fertile green valley across the desert. It was by the banks of the river that the oldest civilization of the ancient Egyptians began. Now, this river is very, very important because along the river they were able to use the soil because it was damper, and they used the soil to produce food for themselves, and of course it provided water for their animals. They also used it for travel.
Did you know that cats were really precious to the ancient Egyptians? They believed they had magical abilities. They dressed them in jewels, they fed them the best food, and if anybody killed a cat, they were sentenced to death.
Behind me here, you can see the Great Sphinx. This is a giant statue, and it was built more than 4,500 years ago, and it was built to guard a pyramid. It has the head of a pharaoh and the body of a lion. The Great Sphinx was carved out of a huge piece of limestone, and it sticks up out of the desert floor. It is the largest freestanding sculpture to survive the ancient times. Behind me here, you can see the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is a huge pyramid in the desert near Cairo in Egypt, and it's called the Pyramid of Khufu. It is the only one of the 7 wonders of the world that still exists. This Great Pyramid took over 20 years to build, and it was completed around 2560 BC. And it was unique because the sides were smooth, although if you go to Egypt now, they're not quite smooth because they've been weathered, but in the sunlight they would glint.
It is presumed that the pyramids were built by the slaves, and it took over 10,000 workers.
The pyramids are stone tombs for the Egyptian kings, which are called pharaohs, and they are one of the world's greatest historical mysteries. They've been standing for thousands of years, and they are filled with many hidden secrets. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh's body could be mummified after death and it would live forever, and so these tombs were made to protect them, and the pharaohs went inside when they died and they were put with all their belongings so that they would move on to the afterlife with everything they needed, including their slaves and servants.
In this room they are making a mummy. It took a very long time. The body was washed and the organs removed, but only the heart remained. It was filled with stuffing, and then the body was dried out and covered in natron. Natron dried out all of the moisture. After about 40 to 50 days, the stuffing was removed and replaced with sawdust or linen. Then the body was wrapped up in strands of linen and covered in a sheet called a shroud. Finally, the body was placed inside a stone coffin called a sarcophagus. The body was now ready for its journey to the afterlife. I think it might be time to go home. Bye!